Okay, so here we are, day 2, and we are going to put everything together. I'm going to go over quickly what I did yesterday, basically meat prep and how to wash your meats and vegetables in a salt bath, all the vegetable cut-ups and vegetable preps. Let's see, talked a little bit about salt and sugar and oils, starches, lactose, gluten. All right, so starting with gluten, one thing that I forgot to mention yesterday was sourdough breads and sourdough, and I'm gonna get started here with cooking. So what I've got here right now is the mushrooms and onions, and I've got the stock, which is basically vegetable broth, organic vegetable broth, and the chicken stock from yesterday. So I've defatted it and I've dumped it in here. This is on low heat right now, just warming, and I'm gonna get started with the cooking. So I'm just gonna hit this with some olive oil and get this cooking, and then I'll continue with what I was talking about. It takes a fair amount. There's a lot of mushrooms and onions in here. You don't need to put over amounts in, but okay, so let's get some heat on here. There we go. All right, get this stirred up a little bit. Let it come to heat, and then we will carry on. So like I was saying, sourdough breads, there's a lot of talk in the circles that sourdough breads have a feature to them where the action of the sourdough starter breaks the wheat and the gluten down to where it's tolerable by those who are gluten intolerant. Now, I haven't ever tried it yet. One thing that I want to enforce is that sourdough bread is not supposed to taste sour. Okay, if your sourdough bread tastes sour, it means that your starter has gone bad. Sourdough refers to the fact that you let is that on? I think so. Yeah. Sourdough refers to the fact that you let your starter work and you keep adding to it and continuing to work it over time. Has nothing to do with the sourness of a bread. In fact, your bread in the old world, sourdough was the only kind of bread that they had, and it's supposed to be sweet, just like every other bread that we eat. So that's what's going on with sourdough. All right, where are we at? What else did I forget to say? Vitamins. So when I was talking about vitamins the other day, what we need to realize is that one other factor you have to take into account is the formulary of your vitamins. If you're taking the wrong formula, which is the chemical structure of whatever vitamin is that you're needing, it's not going to work for you. And that's all there is to it. So you have to understand what formula it is that you're using and consuming. So that was a little bit on vitamins. When I was talking about taking medications in the morning, now I take my medications in the morning, but I take them with oatmeal. Now, oatmeal is very easy to cook, contrary to popular belief. I take it and I put it in a mug, something like this. I fill it up that far with oatmeal, and I fill the whole mug up to just below the brim with, I use rice milk. You can use any kind of milk you want. You can use regular milk. You can use any one of your almond milks or hemp milk or anything that you want. Put it in the microwave for 1.5 minutes, and it's ready to go. You just, when it comes out of the microwave, you just go up and down with your spoon to stir it. Set it, let it set for a couple minutes, and then you're good to go. All right, so one thing that I've found out about cooking mushrooms and onions is if they dry out like they are right now, all you got to do is turn the heat down a little bit or turn it off, and they will start to juice out. And just control your heat, and they will start juicing back out. There's enough oil in there to do this very nicely. They may look dry right now, but they will juice out, trust me. And I use mushrooms and onions for the base for just about everything that I cook, or a lot of things that I cook. It just makes a nice savory base. And it's, I also cook the mushrooms and onions without garlic in it. I'll put the garlic in a minute because I like the flavor layering of adding the garlic in after the mushroom and onions meld. That's my personal choice. Try it yourself and see what you like. I made a mess here. I gotta find a broom real quick or something. All right, thank you. So basically I'm on stirring, call it stir fry, because you have to keep stirring, otherwise you get burnt food. So, yep, that's kind of it, kitchen gym. Cool, thank you. Somebody else was there, that's not mine. All right, what else did I forget yesterday? Fermented sauces like soy sauce and a lot of other fermented sauces. They, again, there's a lot of talk now as to where fermentation, especially lacto fermenting, actually helps break down a lot of your things that are in the sauces, and not only does it make them taste better, but it also increases the nutrition, and it turns them into probiotics and a whole bunch of other things. So there's a lot of benefit to lacto-fermented foods and sauces. Let's see. Oh yes, water at night. Now I talked a lot about drinking water early in the morning, 20 ounces of water before you get started, before you have your coffee, before you have your breakfast and everything else. One thing that I want to enforce is that if you're one of those that has a glass of water next to your bed at night and you have to have a drink in the middle of the night, I really encourage you to not do that anymore. And I'll tell you why. It's a pretty simple concept if you think about it logically. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not any of this stuff. I just know what works for me. So if you're drinking at night, and the reason you want a glass of water at night is because your mouth is all full of grossness. It just tastes horrible and you just want to wash it down. Therein lies the problem, you're washing it down. So at night, our salivation slows down. We stop salivating for the most part, or very little. Things build up in the mouth, bacteria and stuff. That's why we have that yuckos in the morning in our mouth. And drinking water at night, you take all that bacteria and stuff that's in your mouth and you wash it down into the greatest incubator ever designed on the face of the earth, your stomach. And there it starts to grow. So if you're one of those that's getting sick all the time and you're drinking water all night, you know, maybe stop drinking water at night. Might just help. What I do if I can't stand to go any longer without having something to clear out whatever's going on, I'll get up and I'll rinse my mouth out. I'll wash my hands and then I'll just take water in and I'll just swish it around and spit it out 3 or 4 times. and then I'll take a light drink of water. I've found that if all I really have to do is clear that stuff out of my mouth, and I really don't even need to drink anything. Now see here, there's a lot of juice starting in here already. So it's all coming up. So let's get some heat under here, I guess. So, and it's starting to cook down. So that was the one thing I wanted to enforce about drinking water. Just try not to drink it at night. You don't have to brush your teeth in the middle of the night again. You just got to rinse the crud out of your mouth and then just have a light drink of water and go back to bed. I know that, you know, I'm pretty up there in years, and so I'm up at night going to the bathroom anyway, because that's kind of what us old people do. So, you know, get used to it, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Get all that. Okay, so I guess I've covered everything that I didn't cover yesterday. I'm up to talking about nightshade vegetables. Oh, yes. So nightshade vegetables. The one nightshade that everybody knows and probably hates is tomatoes. Okay, so you're one of those that can't stand to eat tomatoes. Why? Because they're too acidic, right? Oh yeah, wrong. In goes the garlic, flavor layer number 2. So tomatoes in reality are less acidic than most other vegetables. They are acidic. Now there's something about tomatoes. They're a nightshade. They're in the nightshade family of vegetables. And what that means is that they contain a component of alkali. And what that is instead of an acid base, it's a base. So you've got, you know, like ammonia is a base. Hydrochloric acid is an acid. So there's your difference if you understand what that means. So your nightshade vegetables, some common nightshades are tomatoes, potatoes, okra, eggplant, peppers. All your peppers are nightshades. So all of those things have an alkali component to them. So basically what I've done so far is I've cooked the mushrooms and onions. I've added into it the garlic for the next flavor layer. I've added in carrots, and I've added in some Better Than bouillon. I've added in the chicken. I've got the stock pot with vegetable broth and the broth from the Instapot. I've got half the meat in there and half the meat in here. And now I'm just finishing up with a few of the other things, liquid aminos, what have you. So let's put a little bit more aminos in here. And I'll tell you, if you put too much aminos in it, it gets bitter. So easy does it on the aminos. So yeah, if I was doing a stir fry, this would be a lot drier. And I tend to pull it to one side and put the aminos on top of the pile of vegetables rather than onto the pan, because if the aminos burn on the bottom of the pan, oh, it is bitter. Trust me, it is bitter. You do not like it at all. I don't anyway. But with this, with so much juice and everything in here, it's not really an issue. So let's see what we got here. Good. Come on. All right, so we are up to, I'm gonna get the rest of the cabbage in here. Okay, and let's see. A lot of times I like to put a little bit of broth in with the fry here, but you know, right, this one I don't think I will. I think I'll just add it straight to the stock pot. This is pretty full and there's a lot of juice in here anyway, so it will meld just fine. Because the next step after this is melding and spicing. So I tend to put my spices in at the end, because if you overcook a spice, it's not very good tasting. Okay, so let's see. A couple other things. The only thing left to do is to get some vegetable broth in here into the stock, and then I'm going to put in some Icenario's mild Italian chicken sausage. This is a raw product, so it's got to be cooked before it goes in. So that's why it's not in there right now. All right, so let's get this into the stock pot.
Do you have a name for this?
No, it's just chicken whatever. Nope, I don't name my dishes because they're never the same twice. All right, so let's turn this off. I think I'm done with that. Let's see, let that stop for a second. All right, so transference is next. And this is how I make all my soups. And like I say, they're basically the same. I don't really change it up. I don't do a lot of cream soups because lactose and wheat are not good for me. If I was going to make a cream soup of some sort, I would use rice flour as a thickener. And I'll tell you, I only do this once a year, and that's when we make Thanksgiving turkey. But since I couldn't use flour or wheat flour and stuff like that, I tried rice flour as a thickener for my gravy. And I'll tell you, it makes a better gravy than wheat flour. And I've tried just about everything as thickeners, and rice flour has got enough starch in it and stuff so that it is a perfect thickener for gravies and stuff. I like it better. I like it better than cornstarch. I like it better than a lot of your other thickeners. In fact, I don't use anything but rice flour as a thickener anymore. All right, this needs to cool down somewhere. Just get it out of the way here. All right, so looks like we got a pot of soup here. So let's give it a quick taste test. And I will clean out the, I'm gonna just taste the broth here. Oh yeah, that's got a really nice flavor. All right, I'm gonna rinse these out and get some every chef hates to waste good food. All right, so there we have it. All right, this is ready for spicing and also the sausage. So I'm gonna hold off on the spicing. I'm gonna cook the sausage next, but I gotta rinse and wash this out just a bit first. So let's get this. One thing about Icenario's is it's extremely lean, and that's why I like it so much. And so I put a little bit of olive oil in the pan before I put the Icenario's in there, just so it doesn't stick. Now, basically the heat is off right now, but let's see, cut this open. This is a dull knife. How about that? Very dull knife, okay. Okay, extremely dull knife. All right, let's just get this in here. But Isonarios has got a phenomenal flavor. It's one of the best flavored sausages that I've had west of the Mississippi. Back east, where I'm from, where the ethnic communities, I grew up in an area of upstate New York where you'd have like several ethnic communities in different parts of the area. And back in the day, you could get just about any kind of ethnic food you wanted. It was just great. So this stuff cooks up pretty quick, and it's really nice. Now, get the lid on here. And after I get this in here, I will season everything. Put this over here so I don't forget it. So let me talk about seasoning while this is starting to cook here. So I'm not a real connoisseur, expert in spices and seasoning. I have 4 basic spices that I use for most everything. Anything above and beyond that is something that a recipe calls for, and I follow the recipe exclusively because I don't understand how to use the spice. So basil, oregano, parsley, smoked paprika. Those are the spices I use for the most part on a regular basis. Yes, paprika is it's a nightshade, and it's got all the great properties of nightshades. They're incredible for you. And like I said, those who have trouble with nightshades, the best thing I've found is, you wait about 5 to 10 minutes after you get done eating, and instead of having a dessert, you have a lacto-fermented pickle, or you have a salad. Now in Europe, the Mediterranean areas like Italy and Greece and stuff, they would actually serve their salad at the end of a meal as a dessert versus at the beginning of the meal. We tend to do things at the beginning of the meal with salads. It's just not the way to do it. If you put your vinegar in your system first, it doesn't do the same thing. It doesn't help. It just doesn't help. It's got to be at the end of the meal. And that means that you're not going to eat a sweet dessert. Okay? So if you take sugar in after nightshades and all that stuff, like a tomato dinner, you're going to have major issues. I don't care if you eat a salad or a pickle or anything, because sugar just exasperates everything. So, order of eating is everything. You just have to understand what you eat and when and all the rest of it. So this is pretty much cooked up, and there's like virtually no grease in here at all. Like I said, it is very, very lean. That's why I like it so much. It's one of the nicest sausages I've ever used, and it's got wonderful flavor. So get this into the soup here, and then we'll get it spiced, and then all you have to do is bring this up to a boil. Let me crank this up a little bit here. And at that point, once it's up to a boil, after you put the spices in, then you just turn the heat off, put the lid on it. I usually put it on, something like that, and walk away for 2 hours and come back and your soup is done. Now you can stir it a couple times in between, doesn't hurt anything at all. But that's the melding stage, is a couple hours, and I'll tell you, it continues to meld over the days. I cook something about like this once a week, and it lasts about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And the longer it sits in the fridge, the better it tastes. I kid you not. All right, off we go with this. Let's get this in. All right, so the spices I use: basil, oregano, parsley, and smoked paprika. Basil, the power spice, I use 1 part basil. Oregano is just a flavor spice. I use 2 parts oregano. And parsley is a carrier spice, and I use 3 parts parsley. So you can add or detract on the oregano and parsley, but don't mess with the basil. You put too much basil in something and it gets bitter, and it gets bitter fast. Stick to your 1 part basil. In this soup I put in 2 3/4 oregano, put in about 3 1/2 parsleys. Paprika to taste. I typically go at least 1 part paprika. That's what I did in this. When I'm making it for myself, I'll probably put 2 to 3 parts in this because I just like the flavor of paprika. So this is basically up to a boil now. So at this point, I'm going to shut the fire off, and I'm just going to let it sit here. I'm going to put the lid on it and just put it on an edge like this. I'll stir it a couple more times, but she is done. And 2 hours from now we can eat. As a wrap up, my name is Jim Barbieri. I'm here at Kyle Rivers Recovery Cafe in Kelso, Washington. This has been a demonstration on eating for mental health, and how you use foods makes all the difference in the world, and you don't have to eat like a non-tasting whatever to enjoy good food and maintain a diet. I mean, I could live on that soup, and I have for the last 5 or 6 years. This soup and stir fries, which pretty much match it. Maybe the next one I can do a stir fry. They're pretty much the same, except it's a lot drier, different ingredients. And once you get the basis down for stir fries and the soups, it's like, man, the sky's the limit, because they're bases for everything. So other than that, I've tried to include a lot of the different aspects of eating for mental health, and why gluten is important, why lactose is important, why your sugars and salts are important, why all the different things that you put into your body and what order you put them into your body makes a big, big difference. So that's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of where we're at. So Kyle Rivers Recovery Cafe signing off. Enjoy. Bon appetit.